How do you explain your pricing philosophy to your customers?
It cannot be a number that you physically tag on, because then it will become a price war only.
Yeah.
Who is the cheapest, not who's delivering. You will never win the price war. There's always someone doing it cheaper. That's a fact of life.
Welcome back to the My First Business podcast. This is a mini episode where I take some of the best parts of my interviews with phenomenal entrepreneurs and chop it up for you like a snack.
There's a big difference between an entrepreneur and a CEO.
Yeah.
A CEO comes ready equipped with experience to manage a business. An entrepreneur who's being the CEO of a business have learned that the hard way, has put his, he had skin in the game, he had his blood, sweat and tears in it. If you define your business from a brand strategy perspective, if you define your why, then you know the gaps, you know what areas you can cover and the areas that you need to be complemented by others.
Let's talk about pricing. So the work that you do is very, you mentioned it's service-based, but it's very intellectual as well, right? And I'm always fascinated by the perception and the link with pricing and how it evolves over the years for a business like yours. Because you're not charging per hour of time, even though your clients may want that kind of thing. But in your heart, you're not charging per hour because there's no such thing. You're charging based on a value. It's not a mathematical component. It's not, I bought this glass for 30 cents. I'll sell it for $1, 70 cents margin. The business that you and I are in, maybe there's a slight difference. So we're performance marketing. So if we get the results, it's on the Google Analytics, and then we can say like, okay, we did this. Your results are like very exponential, but they're not always clear that exactly it happened because of this. Yeah. We can draw arguments, but you still have to convince your clients of some sort of ROI. But in your kind of line of work, how do you think about pricing, and how has that thinking evolved 10 years ago, 5 years ago? What journeys have you taken with understanding pricing for yourself, your own value, and also communicating with your customers? How do you explain your pricing philosophy to your customers?
So it's a very interesting point. I can't talk about pricing in the sense of pricing, but you just mentioned it. Pricing from the aspect of value is what I would look at. It's not just how much value we're putting, but how much value we're actually generating for clients. And I'll give you some examples of that. At the end of the day, we're running a service business. It's a brand consultancy, right? And by a consultancy, it's not, if I want to differentiate between what an agency is and a consultancy, you have senior advisors, people who have seen it all. They are solutions driven. They're not executors only. So they are senior people that should and will be compensated. Clients who are looking for that value. And the value that we can generate for their own business and maximize it is actually the clients that we want and appreciate what we do. So we target and we want to work with them, and they would want to work with us. It cannot be a number that you physically tag on, because then it will become a price war only. Yeah. Who is the cheapest, not who's delivering. You will never win the price war. There's always someone doing it cheaper. That's a fact of life. If we go to the conversation that as I had with the professor in London Business School, when we talked about differentiation, price is not a differentiator. Price is not. Because if you don't have a differentiation, people cannot see that perceived value that you do, then you better have a low price. Sometimes people, they even if they know what you do, they need to feel it. They need to put it in test and see. If you're able to maximize on, through branding, through the right brand strategy, a sound brand strategy, the right visual identity. If you're able to put that in test and measure it, and you are always able, because there are measurements for that, and you're able to see that this has maximized by 3x, 4x, 5x, and you attribute it to that, then you will understand that there is no price that needs to
But
be
in-
addressed,
with
but
that-
a value that needs to be invested in. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, the calculation is done based on resource time allocation. It cannot be, yes, but you don't want to end up being like the legal industry, right? Where you do it by the hour, and it's about the value you bring, not the time that you put. And that's why we hate to charge by the time. But it is about the resource time that is put. So in calculation, a phase like that or a scope like that involves certain calibers at certain time investment.
Yeah.
You do the calculations and you transparently share it with clients. They know you're not alone.
Yeah.
They know. But they will also have that element of looking, we know what those people deliver.
Right.
We know their track record and success rate. So maybe there is a price premium to consider,
Of course.
right? But at least we know what we're getting out of it. We're not going to do that exercise every 2-3 months, 6 months. It's something that's going to take us for the next 5, maybe 10 years. You know, brands are built to last.
Yeah.
Yes, you tweak, you change course a bit, you fine tune, you uplift, but the essence remains the same, and the brand should be perfectly articulated. There's no chance for a second time.
Yeah. And with your pricing, then, do you kind of revisit it every year, every 6 months, every 5 years? Your models, like, I'm not asking you to share numbers, but more about fixing it for yourself internally. Because if you're not, confident yourself, one thing I notice about entrepreneurs is if they're not confident, that's half the perception there.
True.
When you're presenting the price and why you think you deserve this.
Absolutely.
That's one part. And the symptom of that is changing it too often. Do you end up changing it a lot? Do you fix it for a bunch of years, or how do you think about it?
Because we're not looking at pricing as a number, but as a value. It is at which cycle of our business we're delivering what type of value. We are today in our 3.0 version. Okay. So 1.0, we were that branding agency. And then we became a brand agency, which means beyond the visual aspect of things, or more diverse in that. Today we're a brand consultancy. And by that we are in the sweet spot between what management consultancies offer from a strategic angle and what branding agencies or brand agencies or design shops and boutiques deliver. So we are priced based on our positioning, not based only on when do we do it, every year, every 3 years or 5 years. If I have not elevated the team, the culture, the methodology, the outcome to where we are today, we would not be able to charge wherever we charge today. So it is very much on par with what we have.
All right, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed that teaser. I think you will love the full episode. I'll leave the links in the description below, or you can head on over to my website. It's nparvez.com. Before you head off, I have just one more question to ask you. Why haven't you subscribed yet?